Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm with...
Matt the Clown.
And we have a very special guest today. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Frank Hablawi from Particularly Evil Games.
Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I got a little musical introduction right there.
So, how's everybody doing?
God, I'm swimming in bowl soup.
You mean matzo ball soup?
What? Yeah, that's what I meant. I was on the island last night and had a bunch of matzo balls, and we're doing our matzo ball soup. It's gonna be fun. It's a tradition.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's for first Lent. You've never heard of
Oh God.
So Frank, I'm sure a couple of our viewers probably aren't aware. Now, you've had quite of an interesting history behind you. You've worked a little bit with White Wolf and also on the very popular game Skylanders: Spyro's Adventure.
Yes, I worked with White Wolf a number of years ago, back when it was good. Nowadays, it's terrible, and I like to take a decent amount of responsibility for all the best things White Wolf did. Even though I really didn't contribute anything. I was barely a assistant to an intern. Basically, I got the sugar packets while the intern got the coffee. That's what I did.
I see.
Yeah. And Skylanders, I did even less. I once knew the name. I was like, Skylanders sounds pretty cool. Why don't we just do that? And they were like, all right, fine. It was already on the list. You just read the suggestion, Frank, but fine. We'll give you credit. Now get us some sugar for our coffee. That's basically it. So for that reason, I started up my own company where I get the sugar and the cream, if you know what I mean.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. That worked out. That was there's a little bit of innuendo.
It means you have to get up for your own coffee, doesn't it?
No, it does. Yeah, definitely. But
because you can't hire interns.
Yeah, we can't afford.
Yeah, because
can't afford volunteers. What are you, crazy? We can't do that.
I mean, like that just takes energy to treat them with some amount of respect, and you just. I know I wake up in the morning with just the bare minimum of those two resources.
Yeah.
To get me through the day.
And then the worst is after you have them, they put your name down on their resume, and then you get phone calls from people asking about their work ethic and all that.
Yeah, and there's only so much you can possibly lie. And
It's true.
I mean, I always lied to make my interns seem worse, because you want to keep them as interns. You don't want them getting real jobs.
Right, you don't want them moving on, exactly.
Oh, you put effort into training them and how to be the monkey you want. Why would you want to leave to be someone else's monkey?
I don't know.
Stupid. It's just ridiculous.
I use up most of my lying quota per day making myself look good.
And you don't do a good job of it.
That's because I don't have much of a quota.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't have a vast amount of resources over here, Frank.
I just pictured you halfway in a shower. Like, rolled yourself into the shower, your upper half is getting vaguely wet, you're still wearing pajamas, and you're like, this is gonna be as good as it gets today.
This is the cream of the crop as far as
the pinnacle.
There you go. So subscribe to this channel if you want more of this.
This is the apex of my crummy existence.
Yep.
So, speaking of back the good old days of White Wolf and all that good stuff, I have a funny story that I think you'll appreciate, Frank. Silvestri will remember this one. I introduced, when we first started role-playing, I said, you know what, I'm going to run an old-school White Wolf game because I still have all the books. So we ran a Werewolf the Apocalypse game. And in it, one of the characters is my girlfriend's playing a Bonar. She's acting all hobo-ish around this area to Inquisitor to find out what's going on. And one of the other characters shows up to do the same thing and spots her character. And so she's like, all right. And she uses one of her gifts to pull a random snack out of her pocket. and she hands it to her, and I was like, okay, and she goes and she hands you a Three Musketeers bar. And she goes, okay, I eat, and it's like, alright, and then I start to move on, and Elena goes, oh, wait a minute, that's chocolate, I'm a dog, isn't that bad for me?
Nice. There was a...
I remember that. That was a good moment.
That's a werewolf flaw. It's a -1 super allergic to chocolate. That's...
Really?
No, that was not.
Yeah.
Actually, who knows? There should have been. One of the books. I know there was one... Was it werewolf? I can't remember. It was certainly... There was a female, I think it was a 2-point flaw. Or was it a 1-point flaw? I think it was more insulting. I think it was a 1-point flaw. Female. And that appeared in an actual canonical book from White Wolf.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I don't like telling the story in detail just because it's better just to realize that's just horrible. But I think in context, it was a historical book where being a woman wouldn't be necessarily an advantage. So, you know, that's a little bit of context. But yeah, female, flaw. Wolf. Look it up.
That's like what was the Gypsy game they put out?
Gypsy.
Yeah, but wasn't there like a subtitle like all of their other games?
Don't they have subtitles to all of them?
Gypsy the Offensive.
Right, that's what I mean. I wasn't sure if it was like The Wandering or something.
I think because it was I forgot the name for it, but it was like a supplemental book that it was just World of Darkness Gypsy. So I guess the Gypsy was the supplemental World of Darkness Gypsy. It wasn't like a core book where they had like Gypsy.
It would have been great if it were a core.
If they just
Gypsy the Swindling.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
So there'd be someone that the mage could relate to.
Oh no.
It was It was a very strange book that actually had a decent amount of interesting cultural facts, but that were cloaked in vagaries that reeked of racism. So it's not one of the better received books they had.
I see. Very interesting. We're learning a lot today.
Yeah.
There's one thing. I don't know if you remember. When one time you visited Hofstra back after you left, and one of our friends was hanging out, and you were saying hello to everyone, and you turned to him, and you went, "Stranger, I missed you the most," and you gave him a hug.
Yeah.
And for a while, he was just
"Stranger, I missed you the most." There was a guy you didn't know. I remember that.
And he was just, and he's like, "Why?"
I think his name was Chris.
No, it's Cohen.
Oh, it was Cohen. It was Cohen.
And because what was funny was just after that, Cohen discovered Exalted.
Oh.
And he's like, "Oh, Exalted's such a great game, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, you know, the guy that hugged you that one time worked on that stuff." And his eyes just like lit up, like, "And he hugged me."
That is
what?
That is the saddest thing that I've ever heard. Good. I hope all his hopes were dashed upon the rocks. He missed his opportunity to hug me back. It was a very limp hug. I did not appreciate it.
Well, he was a very limp kind of guy, but...
Hey, Sorry.
Okay, then. So...
Matt, I think you ought to talk about something that was reminded to you by the fact that our lovely Frank here did have a part in Skylanders.
Oh yeah, that's the most graceful transition we've ever heard.
Lovely Frank. And my part of the Skylanders was identifying a name. It's like, oh, that's the name. That's the one. Go with that. But yes, the lovely Frank.
So
vivacious Frank.
So I'm a little behind the times on this one, but I picked up Ni no Kuni, The Wrath of the White Witch, recently, like a couple days ago. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
I've heard of it. I don't have a PlayStation.
Yeah, it's really good, but the thing that finally sold me on it is I realized that it was a Studio Ghibli thing. Yep. Like, Level 5 got together with Studio Ghibli and made a video game, and it's good. Like, if you like Spirited Away and things like that, then and you have a PS3, then go for it.
Is it true that there's a bunch of glitches in that game?
I haven't run into any. I think I've run into one, and it was more like funny and actually kind of like helped me out more than anything else. And it wasn't something that I was like, what? It was just like, oh hey, look at that.
Because I heard one point.
Go ahead.
Like I heard there's like a glitch at one point where you need to get to a treasure chest, but the glitch makes it where you can't actually get to it, but you need to get to this thing in order to continue the game.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I think that's people being dumb and not being able to find the thing.
Okay.
But I can't say for certain because I'm maybe halfway through tops.
Okay.
Anyway, but the glitch I ran into. There's one part of the game where you're like trying to get to the top of a volcano, and the way random encounters work, it's not really so much random encounters as like you'll see a sprite of the monster that's going to attack you, and it runs at you, and you can try and just run away from it so it doesn't catch you, or you can like run at it, or you can try and sneak up on it, or any number of things. But you see it coming, and I saw one coming like down the path on this volcano. But then I get to a point where a cutscene starts. And I come back from the cutscene, and that monster has passed me. And, like, I turn around to fight it, and I ended up sneaking up on it and getting an advantage in battle. But, like, I guess I kind of phased out of existence for a second, but that thing kept going. So it worked out in my favor, but I did get a little laugh out of it, because I was like, that wasn't intentional.
Very nice.
That's a slight bug. But, like, I haven't run into anything that would, like, ruin my progress yet.
Did you guys actually...
Also, it's...
Sorry?
Go ahead.
No, finish your sentence.
Go ahead.
Finish your sentence. You were
I was
saying
just say I was just gonna say it's worth mentioning that if you like Pokemon, you would very much like this game.
Okay. Did you hear what...
Did you hear what happened? What are you laughing at?
Did you hear what
these are podcasts where like three of you are trying to get through the door at the same time? You're like, fuck.
you give us way too much credit, Frank. This is mostly because Skype is awful.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear what PlayStation 3 did in response to the Xbox One's reveal?
No.
No.
What they did is they have a new advertisement, and because did you guys see the Xbox reveal?
I didn't see it, but I know all about the Xbox One at this point. I've read up on it.
Frank, did you?
I did. I heard a little bit about it, and then one of the shows on NonProductive did a bunch of posts that big. Did a couple episodes on the actual the not the reveal. I forgot the name of it. The keynote, the State of the Union address.
There you go. That's
yes,
State
of the
Union address.
One thing is there was a fun fact about that. They mentioned it on the show. I'll mention it later. But one thing is in the reveal, they were constantly talking about how you can watch live TV, you can flip from your game to live TV while watching live TV, you can Bing search while watching live TV, your fantasy football will upgrade while you're watching TV, you can Skype and tell your friends how that thing that just happened was awesome. They were constantly talking about all the things you can do with your TV with it. And so PlayStation did an advertisement going, PlayStation 4, our system uses the TV as well to play video games.
That's pretty cool. Good for them.
And I just
Are you
got
sure that was a real ad and not like a...
It was most likely a Twitter
fan
thing.
Made? Because I've seen a bunch of really scathing fan made, like quote unquote PlayStation 4 ads. So I'm googling it now to make sure that it's like a real thing. Because if it's a real thing, awesome. But I saw a really great fan ad that was we took one step forward, they took 359 steps back. And I was like, oh, it was
recently,
it was a sick burn.
Recently, the the CEOs for PlayStation were twittering, and one of them goes, "Hey, so did you?" He asks he says like, "Hey, did you see the Xbox? What do you think of the Xbox One or something?" And the CEO responded, "I'm sorry, I just woke up from a nap. What's this about HTC One?"
Oh, there's a lot of cattiness that's happening, which I love. In fact, on N...
Yeah, like, it's good.
Yeah, it is. I'm just doing a random internet search.
Oh my god, everyone just went mecha on me, like... I don't know if it was just me or it's going to be recorded, but everyone got super robot voice.
Yeah, part of it is the compression.
And now there's silence.
Oh, good. Good. His computer, you're just completely off. Hear anything?
What?
Huh? What happened?
Can you hear me?
Yes, but I don't know what's going on.
Let's give it a few seconds for the compression to go away.
It won't.
Are you downloading any sort of, I don't know, pornography or video games or video game pornography?
I'm downloading the recent episode of Akiba Ring.
That might
Maybe?
There we go. Your
You
bandwidth.
want me to pause that? I can pause that if you need me to.
Yeah, pause that.
I'm pausing it. There.
Speaking of video game stuff like that, James actually brought up a question last week on the podcast, which is, who's your favorite video game character hero, villain, side character, whatever, that started as a video game character? So not like, the Kiba Ranger video game, because that started out as the TV show. What's as a character that started in a video game that might have branched out into other medias afterwards?
That is a very good...
It doesn't even have to have branched out into other mediums. It's just that his start came from video games.
I feel like you get a little, like, it weakens a little bit when you're saying, like, he could... Like, for example, Mario's awesome. Everyone loves Mario, but I can't really say that he's done much other than be Mario. So it's hard for me to think of, like, two ways of answering that question are relatively difficult. I would say probably any of the Pokemon. Right? Like, they certainly did very well for themselves, being a bunch of endangered animals forced to fight by children.
They're not necessarily well, some of them are endangered. Some of them there's like 2. Yeah. But Rattatab's doing very well. Can't get rid of Rattata. But yeah, Pokemon. I like the Pokemon. I like Bulbasaur. But you can't really say that they're... My issue is you can't really call the individual Pokemon characters in the games.
True.
They're not even plot devices. Like, they're just... I don't know. No. That's a tough question, though. Give me a minute.
For me, the answer for me was Dante from Devil May Cry, because I just love his attitude and just all the different stuff that he performs in the games and such. I just always could sit there and go, that's a character I can always get behind, is the character Dante.
I do love Dante. And I will say that you know what? I'm not even going to say it anymore, because when DMC came out, all I was talking about was how important that character was to me, if you go back in the podcasts. Yep. So I'm just going to leave it at that and say that I love that character. But I guess my answer to this one would be Mega Man.
Good one.
Like, I love me some Mega Man.
Did you hear what Nintendo did?
How recent was it?
Just recently. On the Wii U now, you can purchase Mega Man X.
Oh, that's cool.
They're doing apparently a virtual console.
I was hoping you'd say something like they bought the franchise from Capcom and now we're actually going to get games again, but nope.
We might.
Nope. Capcom's not going to sell it, and Capcom's not going to make games. They don't care about us.
Holy crap, I have the correct answer.
What?
I can't believe it took me this long. Without a doubt, Link.
Link?
Yeah. That really is a character, right? So it's not the Pokemon where there's vague characterizations, but certainly in the games they're not that clear. Had a life afterwards in other medium, although mostly commercials and that one cartoon show.
Well, excuse me, Princess.
Enough of that.
Mega Man was there too.
Mega is a good one. No, I don't mean to say correct answer.
You know, my problem.
Sephiroth.
Oh God. My problem with Link is, well, I guess it's going to sound hypocritical because Mega Man suffers the same problem. But my problem with Link is, like, he's a character in that he never speaks. We never really get an idea of who he is as a person other than just going around being a hero. And at least Mega Man has the excuse that he's a robot.
Apparently a lot of the reason why Link doesn't talk to this day is because, I forget the guy who created him, he wants that full immersion, and he feels that the immersion is broken if he talks. But this is the funny thing, I actually, on the Zelda forums...
It's Gordon Freeman syndrome.
Yeah. I had this one, I put on the Zelda forums, you know what would be really cool is if they added voice acting, just to push the plot along, because the plots are fun, but when you have to sit through 20 minutes of text dialogue to get the story, it starts getting a little boring. And everyone's, like, raged on, no, it breaks the immersion, It's like, how does it break the immersion? Because if you think about it, if we keep it by text-based, that means everyone in Hyrule keeps all their dialogue on business cards and just hands them to people, and that's how they have conversations.
This touches on one thing I don't like about Ni no Kuni. It's actually very heavily voice acted. There are a few sections where it's just text-based, but there are some sections where voice acting and text-based go together, and I find myself just hitting the X button to get through the text quickly because I read more quickly than they talk. And I find myself accidentally missing out on so much of the voice acting. The voice acting in the game is really, really good, especially for certain... So I find myself going, man, I really would have liked to have heard what that line sounded like, but I wanted to, skip to the end of the text. Because, the text doesn't just show up, it does, that standard video game, spelling itself out. Yeah. And that's always waiting for me, and I always just want to read it, and it's a habit. But when you skip ahead to the end of the sentence, it cancels out the voice acting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, come on, I really would have liked to have heard Drippy say, heartbroken or head broken or whatever the heck the line was that got me really upset yesterday. But so I can see what you're saying, but at the same time, if it's executed incorrectly, I would have a problem with it.
So, Frank, here's a question. Is there a particular Legend of Zelda game that you like over any of them?
He left. He's gone.
Oh, I walked away because there was far too much Matt in this conversation. Matt, really, to be honest. Too much Matt. No, I don't have a particular favorite in why I picked Link, because I just like the genre. I like the epic fantasy. Honestly, I like the music. Music itself brings to mind the character, the world, and everything in it. That's a well-designed game. So, Mario does that too, and the Super Mario Brothers and the entire, the entire basic Nintendo family do it, but nothing quite beats and I was tempted to go with a Final Fantasy character, but nothing beats the unadulterated, pure high fantasy of the Zelda series. And, Link is the most interesting, important character amongst them because nobody likes villains or girls.
Sadly, for the longest time, because I didn't play Zelda until Ocarina of Time, I always thought Link was Zelda.
Oh. I hate you. And
you're like those people who think Daenerys' name is Khaleesi in Game of Thrones. I will punch you. I hate you so much right now. Oh my god, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Oh my god.
Because I was always going under the impression, oh, the game's Legend of Zelda, so Zelda must be the main character. You must play as Zelda.
Yeah, I think Matt's shaking violently trying.
I really am, dude. I am bright red right now. Oh, wow.
Road trip. Road trip.
Are you okay?
Oh, you're that guy. I can't believe you're that guy.
He may have crossed over from pain to pleasure, though. I'm not sure about this.
I can't. I'm done. I'm done. I would hang up, but I can't leave you alone with him, Frank.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, because he is the greatest monster now. I'm not trucking with it.
In the Legend of Zelda series, I will say my favorite character is probably Ganondorf. Link is cool and all, but again, I don't feel he gets enough characterization. Ganondorf, like, if you really look at him, it's like, he's not necessarily a bad guy. Like, he's the only...
Particularly in the U.S. economy.
Do you guys have commercial breaks?
Economic growth.
Not really.
Strategies that are...
What's going on there?
That's a non-productive commercial break.
That may have been like Non-Pro was thinking, you guys need to make some money. You got here to play for a while. Ridiculous.
Please. It's not even that. Non-Pro was like, they need to stop. We need to save everyone for a couple of seconds.
You know what? That was the Academy Awards. You were being played off. All right, enough about this Zelda crap. Let me just...
Enough of this nerd crap. Let's talk about sports.
Good. So, how about that local sports team?
Which one?
It doesn't matter. They said about them. They did ball. They threw it well and caught it.
Yep.
We can talk about trucks.
I thought we just did. Isn't there a truck sport we could do? Could cover two things?
Monster trucks.
Oh man, that would actually be pretty good.
James is a big fan of monster trucks, actually.
Especially now that he's going to school for automotive stuff.
That's why
he's going to get an associate's degree in monster truck repair.
No, legit, that's the entire reason he's going to automotive school. He wants to work on monster trucks.
That is amazing.
Like I would be so proud to be able to say, yeah, no, I got a friend who works on monster trucks.
What does that say about you, that you would be proud to have a friend that accomplished something? You're not even asking for it of yourself. You're like, oh man, it'd be great if someone I knew achieved some sort of mundane success.
I don't think you want anywhere near any kind of motor vehicle component.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah.
I think
it'd be like that scene. It would be like that scene in The Godfather. I put the key in the ignition, the car would blow up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because he is still.
I'd screw that up too. I'd find a way to screw that up too. It would be more like the scene in The Godfather. You'd wake up next to a tire and you'd be covered in oil. But instead of screaming fear, you'd just be going, "Why?"
This took so much effort.
What? Those are the sounds that you would make. Verbatim.
Verbatim? Like exactly?
Yeah.
That's what verbatim means.
Yep. I'm getting yelled at over here for playing with stuff.
Oh, I don't know if that's family friendly.
I keep picking up her earrings and twirling them, and she's yelling at me.
Is she attached to her?
No, she's not attached to the earring.
That's a lie.
Wow! How do you have this strength?
She's just trying to stretch her earlobes out.
Yeah.
I saw a great series of photos the other day about basically it was about, you know how people have like ears gauged to be like enormous, like the big holes in the ears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So someone apparently was suggesting that people start pulling pranks on people with the gauged ears by taking like a master lock, putting it through the gauge, locking it, and just running away. And like the last picture in this series was someone with a lock, like in their gauge, like, and someone's like trying to cut it off with some kind of, I guess, industrial cutter or something. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, but I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Maybe I'm just a bad person.
What do you mean maybe? You are clearly a bad person. That's a horrible thing to do to a person. Plus, also really difficult. I think that may be one of the reasons it's so bad. It's like, hey,
you really got to sneak up on a guy with that.
Yeah, hey, stranger, can you just stand really still for like about a minute? Because I'm going to do something elaborate. I mean,
Maybe they were waiting for a train.
You know what? If I was
or
waiting,
something.
if I was waiting for a train and someone was playing near my ears, I'd be a little alarmed.
What? That's the thing. If the ear is gauged widely enough, they don't need to play much.
That's got to be a pretty wide gauge. That's got to be like leaving your bags unattended wide. Where do you...
If you see something, say something.
There's
Sir, did you pack your earlobes today? Did you ever leave your earlobes unattended?
With somebody else, exactly.
I don't know.
That would not pass TSA regulations.
Nope.
That reminds me of a story that happened to my brother-in-law in the locksmith shop yesterday.
Go on.
So he has at the locksmith he's got a bunch of pens sitting in a box on the counter, and they're the old style, capped pens.
Okay.
And this woman comes in to get this digital padlock that needs it's like a $6,000 lock. It's crazy. It's one of those, like those key swiping doors where you have to swipe the key to get the door to unlock.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that, but in a padlock form. So you need a special key in order to open it, and the lock registers how many uses have been done with the key through the padlock.
Okay.
And she goes, she gets it, and then she starts walking around the store, and then she comes back to the counter and she spots the box of pens. And she goes, "Oh, what are those?" And she picks one up and looks at it, and the guy behind the counter goes, "They're pens?" And she goes, What do you do with them?" And then the guy goes, "Write stuff with them?" And then she goes, "Well, how does it work?" And so then he takes the pen and he just pops off the cap lid, and she's like fascinated by the invention of the pen.
There's really only one thing I can say about this. White people. So I have a quick question for you. When I said white people, was I louder than I am now? Because I leaned real close to my laptop, but I don't know how much proximity I get to my microphone.
Not that much.
That's such a shame. I need a really good microphone because I love messing with like the distance to the microphone and the volume of what I'm saying, because I think it can be really effective and kind of weird. And I want to make you people uncomfortable. But go on. I feel like your story wasn't finished.
No, that was it. Like, the rest of the crew, like, my sister had to run out of the room because she was laughing so hard and she didn't want to do it in front of this person. But they were just sitting there like, she literally was fascinated, and she's like 60 years old, and she was sitting there going like, "What is this device?"
Man, I have a story I wish I could tell on the Fearless Games podcast in regards to a 60-year-old woman coming into a store with a device, but I really don't.
Podcast.
Well, we try to keep it slightly family friendly here at Fearless Games, and well, let's just say, because this should only sound familiar to someone old enough to understand, or at least they can Google it, that my friend Mike, when he was working at a drugstore, had an elderly woman come in with a broken device that was originally intended for the treatment of female hysteria, and was trying to figure out where she could get it fixed.
That's an important thing, yeah. You don't want to get hysterical.
And so I'm just going to drop that story there, because I can't go into the further details on a family-friendly podcast.
Did he tell her where to fix it?
He basically told her it was beyond fixing, considering she'd bought it in like the 50s.
Oh, I thought it was from...
Like, the thing was basically hand crank operated.
Very good.
And he was like, "We don't sell them here, but you could probably find a new one." And she'd apparently gotten it from her doctor, but that doctor died.
Right to heaven.
Say again?
And went straight to heaven.
broke him. You broke him, Frank. Are you happy?
Oh, God. Oh,
Was that your mission when you went on this broadcast?
Yes, basically.
Oh,
I was gonna do it
oh man.
the Bane way, but easier on my
Oh,
end.
thank you, Frank. I
Nope,
needed that.
many times.
So, Frank, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
The Fearless, all of our little Fearless members out there know a lot of the stuff that we're into in terms of gaming and all that. And it's just the question is, what's your preferred form of gaming when you're off the clock and you're done with the day and you just want to relax? What's your preferred form of gaming and entertainment?
See, it's kind of hard when you do it, at least even semi-professionally. It's hard to when all your hobbies become jobs. I still do game occasionally for pleasure. When I game for pleasure, I tend to play a lot of board games or tabletop RPGs. And
Any particular one?
I favor the indie RPGs these days. I don't have a favorite off the top of my head. Fiasco is a really good game. It's a tabletop RPG where you're basically playing a Coen's Brother movie.
Okay.
And we're working on a project with Fiasco as the engine. There's let's see what else. What's a really good? We recently just finished an entire reign of a Star Wars game using Lady Blackbird, which is this super simple game engine where it's, again, a tabletop game, and it's a tabletop RPG. And the characters are pre-created, and it's in this high fantasy steampunk universe, and we adapted it for Star Wars, and it worked perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. It was a great game. And board game front, for a while, Betrayal on the House on the Hill was the go-to game for us. But then when I
played that with you once, and it was wonderful.
It is.
I never played that.
It is an amazing game. Basically, it's a haunted house adventure. Every time you go deeper into the house, more tiles are exposed, and the house and its dimensions change. And beyond that, a crux, like a changing point in the game, a haunt is revealed. Some sort of supernatural thing happens that breaks the game. And you read the special code, and one person gets one book, and the rest of the players get another book. That person who's isolated becomes a traitor, typically, and everybody else is the hero who has to basically fight the bad guy in the haunted house movie that you're making.
It was
Interesting.
It was really fun.
It's a great
One
game.
time I played it, and I think it's out of print, which is such a shame.
It occasionally goes out of print. I think it's back in, but I'm not sure. But yeah, if you can find it anywhere, pick it up. And recently, the game that's sort of taken us by storm is a game called Small World. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's another game. In Small World, it's a world-conquering game. So there's a map with a bunch of different terrain. There are mountains and there are hills and there are grasslands or whatever. And there's a list of, 10, 15 or whatever, races, fantasy world races, and about 20 powers. You shuffle them together, and then every game people get to pick, it's random, a race and a power. So some of the races are elves, dwarves, trolls, ratmen, tritons, and some of the powers are flying, merchant, hill, stout. So when you mix them all together, you might become flying ratmen, or seafaring dwarves, or seafaring ratmen and mountain elves, or whatever. Like, there's a bunch of different scenarios, and beyond just being adjectives, each race gives you a special power in the game, and each power gives you a special power in the game. So, for example, flying ratmen. Ratmen have a lot of people. They have more of their race than any other. So there are like 5 elves in the game, but there are 8 ratmen. And flying allows you to appear in random parts of the map, as opposed to like coming in on a direct, almost like a risk line. You have to conquer a territory, go to the next one. Conquer a territory, go to the next one. Flying people can show up randomly. So flying ratmen means you have a giant ratman. You've just got ratman armies appearing randomly across the board, causing devastation. It's awesome. On the other hand, a flying dwarf would be played differently, because dwarves like mines. Flying, again, allows you to appear anywhere on the board. So you've got dwarves that appear randomly in everybody's mind. They're in the underworld. They're causing havoc. The game has both Betrayal on the House on a Hill and Small World are awesome games because they have infinite variations. Well,
That's
literally
interesting.
infinite, but a lot of variations. Every time you play it, it's a different board game, which is fun.
Gotta have to give that a shot one time.
You gotta get you guys in studio. We have a new show on the NonProductive Network. In addition to Particularly Evil Games, we do the NonProductive Network, and we have a new show where two guys and a random third guest, or host, really, come in, and each of them pick a game that they want to champion, and they play them, and they argue with each other which game is the best. It's called Three of the Kind, and yeah, you guys definitely need to come up at some point, play Small World with us, and realize what an awesome game it is.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I'm currently trying to track down a copy of Risk Legacy. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Frank.
Is that... that's not the God one, is it?
No, it's... it takes place in, like, some terrible post-apocalyptic version of Earth. And the big sell of it is that each game is fairly quick. Only takes a couple of hours, which, in Risk terms, pretty fast.
Yeah.
But the board changes with each successive game.
Oh, nice.
So, for example, the guy who wins the first game, he gets the option to, like, place a major city and name it, and from then on, he's the only person who can start in that area. No one else can start in that particular country, or within one country of it, or something like that. Certain people can, like, you can place down bunkers and stuff to add to your defensive ranks in certain countries. So like different stickers will literally get added to the board, but at the same time, when certain events happen, like when in one combat phase 3 missiles are launched, you actually they have a bunch of like packs of like cards and other game materials that are sealed until these events happen, at which moment you open them up. And they become new parts of the game. And some of them are just like different abilities, some of them are like new territory cards, and at least one of them is a new faction to play.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so one of the things I want to do is I want to track this game down so that we can get a bunch of people together and basically have a Risk Legacy campaign that we've put up on the channel, because I think that would be really cool.
That would be awesome.
I think it's out of print at the moment, because I haven't been able to find a copy of it, and I don't necessarily want to pay like $60 on Amazon with shipping.
We should definitely hit up Toys R Us. They never throw anything out.
I've been like 3 and 4 times. I can't find it.
Dang.
Every time I go to Toys R Us, and I go there fairly often, I check it out.
Maybe not something you want to admit to the public.
I like Nerf guns.
All right, that's another thing.
They sell them at Toys R Us.
Yes, and we gotta get a Nerf battle in sometime this summer.
Yep, I agree, and we should film it, and we should put it up on the channel.
Yep. Frank, you actually mentioned before non-productive and particularly evil. Why don't you give us fearless gamers out there a rundown of what non-productive and particular evil games is and what you guys do?
Nah.
No?
No, wait, okay, yeah, let's do that. That's actually a good idea. Well, basically, NonProductive is a geeky entertainment network. We're located at non-productive.com. It's a lot of fun, and it's just a lot of creative, geeky people getting together, doing some awesome stuff. We have live shows pretty much every day of the week, and lots and lots and lots of podcasts. So just check us out at non-productive.com.
Ooh, we'll put a link in the description for that.
Awesome. And Particularly Evil is our game company. For the most part, it started off just as me, but every once in a while I get a few more designers, and the basic concept is just we're gamers at heart, where we play games, and occasionally our home-brewed hacks and home rules are good enough to put out and make available for other people. So for the most part, we go to cons and we run events. It's like a long-form campaign shrunk down into the span of one weekend. That's sort of the goal of what we do. The games we are probably most famous for, and by famous I mean people vaguely recognize, is Ardna, which was formerly referred to quite often as the Living Earth. And it was.
I remember that.
You guys were big players and GMs in the world.
I still have character sheets from the Hofstra games from those.
Awesome. Very cool.
I've got Xanatos. I've got the only two. I'm only missing two. Merith and Dardak.
We gotta get you guys a copy of anything we have in archive. But so basically, Ardna started off as an open sourced world building. Really, in the early 2000s, maybe late '99 or whatever. The OGL came out for Wizards of the Coast, their open game license, which allowed other developers to develop with their game rules openly, as opposed to there's a weird kind of copyright loophole issue where you really can't copyright rule sets. You can copyright language, but you can't copyright entire rule sets. But this was the first time you could be a licensed publisher for a big game company in the terms of the OGL. So we created, this is the dawn of the open source of the world. The world WordPress was just about to get really popular as a piece of software. Wikipedia was getting really big at this point. Everybody was very open about open culture. So we wanted to make an open setting that for the most part you could create your own material, and that material would exist in the world to have a chance of becoming canon, and other people could play it. They could download the settings and play with your stuff and interact with your characters, like in a living campaign.
Okay.
Yeah, we were working on that for a number of years, but obviously not too recently, but semi-recently, White Wolf, a Wizard of the Coast, ceased supporting the 3.5 edition of their game, the open gaming license itself. Not that they're retracted, but they're not really putting out any new stuff. They moved to their 4th edition of their D&D game. And over the last few years, we've seen sort of a drop. So in attendance at cons and people having interest in our product, it's basically everything that was done for this system seems to have already been done. So for the last few months, we've been working on a couple of secret projects, or at least semi-secret projects, about effectively Ardna Reborn, relaunching Ardna in time for its more than 10th anniversary. Yeah, I think it's been more than 10 years. I have to check that out. I actually don't know exactly when we first started being put under the banner of Ardna, but it's been quite a while since we've put the books out, and in honor of that anniversary and of rebuilding our brand, we are moving formally to a new system to run our games in the future.
Nice. Yeah. And this is going to be a home-crafted system that you guys developed?
No, we're keeping with the concept of doing a game that is open, that uses the culture, as opposed to any game company can put out a system. Obviously there are dozens of game companies out there with their own setting and their own systems and whatever, which is cool and great. But the whole goal with Ardna is making it your own. So what we loved about the OGL was that this is something that where the rules are in the document itself on how free you are to do your own thing. And we found another game system that we really enjoy that is the same kind of concept, the same openness, the same community-based world building. And it's going to be based off, and this is actually probably breaking news. We haven't mentioned this publicly in any forum yet, but we are formally moving over by next month. I think July 3rd is when we're going to perhaps run the first few games at the Double Exposure Convention, DexCon. We are moving over to Dungeon World as a game system, as suggested by a lot of our fans.
Nice.
Dungeon World is a very open, very loose, very story-driven, narrative-driven game system. There are less rules about taking 5-foot steps and more rules about changing the fiction of the game, changing the what's actually happening in the story. Which really,
and what's that called again?
Dungeon World.
Okay, I'm just Googling it for my own purposes.
I will send you guys the document that we're working with, so you guys get the ground floor edition of the game and the rule sets we make. And depending on how you're available, I know you're over at you're on Long Island, but if you guys want to come over at any point and play in a game, you're more than welcome. And maybe we could even run an online version of the game to get everybody involved.
It's because we've been trying to work on getting a bunch of online games going on in the channel for a while, and that could be really interesting.
Very cool. Yeah.
Ever since James left, we've been considering it.
Yeah, and the Stark Lord keeps ditching us on his role-playing game that he wants to do.
He's not ditching us. He's been busy until very recently.
I know, and yet I still never see him. He never calls.
He only recently became less busy, and you live far away, and you smell funny.
I shower.
In what?
You halfway in a shower. Fearless gamers do not take full showers.
and now I'm remembering. Oh God! So you get. I'm gonna come across as like the petty guy in this group by the end of this, because last time I was on the podcast, I ended up talking about Eric for like 20 minutes, and now I'm gonna make a joke at Ron's expense, because that guy really smelled like he showered in cat pee.
What? You've never showered in cat pee? You've never had a Mongolian shower before?
Not on purpose.
I don't know why.
Not before class.
I don't know what to say to that.
I think that might be the best place for us to end everything, including the world.
That's right. It's time to wrap it up.
Alrighty. So we will
human existence. Evolution is done. Nope.
Good show, guys. Good show. We tried our best.
Canceled.
Okay. So we will end it here for now.
And I guess.
Okay. So thank you all for listening. Frank, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And it's always a pleasure. Hopefully we can have you come back later if you're willing, and we don't have to force you.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. There's always going to be some degree of forcing. Let's be honest here.
Yeah. We can't deny that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for listening, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
And Matt the Clown.
And joining us today was...
Frank the Baby. Do I get to
take care?
Let me Frank the Giant Baby. Come on.
Yeah, I'm picturing Giant Baby, like dude in a diaper. Okay.
I need a better name.
It's official. No, it's official. Too late. Official.
Odd King.